Congratulations on the completion of the first part of the Capstone project, the Capstone Portfolio. In the next few days, most of you will participate in the final component of the project, the Capstone Interview. Curious as to what the interview component will look like? Perhaps you're a little nervous. Don't be. The Capstone Interview is a wonderful opportunity for you to get to show via your portfolio many of the things you have accomplished and learned during your 4 years of high school. We have prepared a sample interview for you to get a better understanding of the process. Prior to the interview, your panel will review your portfolio to help them get to know you a little bit and to prepare their questions. After reviewing your portfolio, a panel member will invite you into the room to begin your interview.
Mr. Plummer, how are you?
Hi, Judge. Welcome. Have a seat.
Welcome, George. We're so glad to have you here, and we've looked at your portfolio. My name is Ms. Hill, and I'm a teacher here at Savannah High School, and we've actually met before, so glad to see you again.
And I'm Manurkul, and I'm the principal here at Savannah, so I'm really happy to have you here today, George.
Happy to be here.
My name is Rick Parmenter, and I'm a biology teacher.
So let's get started. I'm the facilitator, and I have a couple of standard questions that I'm just going to kind of ask everybody. And the first one is that we would like you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, my name is George Chavez. I'm a first-generation Mexican-American. I come from a family of 6. I'm the oldest in my family. I'm going to be the first one to graduate this year. I'm also the first one going to college. And here at Savannah, I'm involved in the medical academy. I'm taking a medical assisting class right now. Also, I'm involved in a couple clubs like HOSA, which is like the Medical Careers Club. I'm also involved in Sociedad, which is basically the Hispanic Honor Society. At home, I have a really close relationship with my family, and I have a really close relationship with a close circle of friends.
So our next question is, what would you say is your strongest skill or capacity?
My strongest skill, I would say, is probably the communicator and collaborator one. Because the thing about me is I try to get along with almost everybody, and especially when it comes to group projects and presentations and stuff like that where we have to actually collaborate with other students. I try to put the assignment first, and I try to put aside like any differences I might have, whether I dislike my group members or not. I would probably say that's my strongest skill. Not only because it's a skill that you need in school, but it's a skill you also need in life and in the workforce, because all your life you can't get away from working with other people.
Can you identify and discuss an artifact in your portfolio, and at this time we actually need you to have your portfolio, that best represents that skill of a communicator and a collaborator?
And probably the artifact that I included about the cardboard boat project in physics that we had to do. And what the cardboard boat project was it was for my physics class, and we had to build basically a boat purely out of cardboard and duct tape. And we had a team of 4 people. And what I'd say that project really like emphasized that skill, because we had to work together to build the boat. Like, for example, one of the times we had differences like with the designs of the boat, but we'd always reach a compromise. And also another reason why I'd say that's a good example for that skill is because when we're actually because we had to take the boat. You've seen the boat races, right? Where we had to take the boat across the pool and back. We had to actually all work together and like simultaneously paddle, and someone had to like tell people to turn around, like everything. And it's just a good example for the communicator, because it's basically that project taught us you have to have good communication and collaboration in order to reach a goal, and that's what we did with that project.
What were some of the challenges in that project that you faced in communication?
One good example, because in my group it was all girls, so when we were actually paddling the boat, everybody started screaming because we started like getting water on, and then like I was telling everybody to calm down, but everybody started screaming as soon as we started getting water, and like they started focusing more on taking the water out than actually paddling to get to the other side. So that was probably one of the challenges, was that with the communication. Like, we didn't really have good communication. We still made it across, but I feel like we would have been able to make it more efficiently if we had good communication and told who to paddle, like which way and with how much force. But when you're in the moment, though, it was really hard to communicate because everybody was just screaming.
And thinking about that moment, what would have made the difference?
Probably
in terms of that communication.
If we had good communication and everybody like kept their cool, then maybe we would have made it back and forth faster. Because we were being timed, by the way, too, since it's basically a race. So if we had good communication, then maybe like we would have made it back and forth faster. And
how would that communication look? What would that communication look like? You said good communication, but what would that look like?
it would probably be everybody staying calm and one person like assuming a leadership position and telling everybody, all right, left paddle, right paddle, left, right paddle, and then because we had to do like a 180 turn, telling one side to paddle backwards and one side to paddle forwards in order to achieve that.
Did your group establish any leadership roles as far as the construction of the boat? I mean, just as opposed to just the actual paddling itself with the finished product, what about the actual building of the boat and coming up with the different pieces and how it was going to fold together and so on and so forth?
We had some form of leadership, but it was really hard. Like, I say that again, it's because since they were, like my whole group was girls, so everybody like wanted their way, and I tried to assume a leadership position, but it was really hard because we wouldn't reach a compromise, and they'd be like, I don't like this, I don't like that. But in the end, we would always compromise. So like, even if someone wasn't happy with it, they'd be like, it's what's best for the team. And that's why I think the collaborator is a really good skill to have too, because if you're able to do that, then you're probably going to be more successful with what you're trying to do.
So your strength as a communicator and a collaborator, how will that capacity contribute to your future plans?
My strength as a communicator and collaborator, it would probably, I don't think I've said this yet, but my future plans are to go into medicine. Specifically, I want to be an anesthesiologist. And it would contribute to it because the medical field, medical personnel, doctors, nurses, they all work in teams. Like whether you're in a team of a surgical team, you're trying to diagnose a patient, or you're trying to see what would be the best treatment. Doctors always consult each other, and I think that would contribute to a profession in that field because that's basically what it's all about, teamwork.
In looking at your portfolio, one of the things that was very intriguing to me was your essay on your community service project. Can you tell us a little bit about what the project was, and also what did you learn in relation to the globally aware and culturally diverse learning capacity?
The project was a first semester project for like almost all the English classes, and what we had to do was we had to complete 20 hours of community service that had to be verified by wherever we did it. And I decided to do mine at the Haskett Library, which is right here around the corner. And what I learned about it in regards to the globally aware and culturally diverse capacity was that it really made me like open my eyes to how my generation is in regards to like books. Since I did it at a library, people wouldn't normally do their community service at a library because they'd be like, oh, it's boring or something. But it really made me realize how different our generation is in regards to books. And what I mean by that is like our generation just doesn't read. That's what I noticed. People would, I'd see kids my age go in there and they'd check out a movie or they'd check out a magazine, but they wouldn't go for like an actual book. What I noticed about younger kids was that's what they'd go for. I'd see kids with stacks of books, and it really made me like realize like, wow, that's something that's really wrong with our generation, that we're not reading enough. I feel like we would be able to benefit more if we were to read more.
Do you feel that that's something that your generation has lost over time? You had it at one point and it's been lost, or what do you think is the cause of that?
What I think it might be, because our generation had it. I remember when I was younger, my mom, when I first got my first library card, it was like in elementary school. And I remember I used to love going to the library and just looking at all the different books. But now, like honestly, I probably wouldn't go to a library. Like we have so many more resources. I think that would be to blame too. The fact that we have many more resources, like for example, computers and the internet, that we're choosing the easy way instead of actually picking up a book and reading it. We'd rather go Google it or something like that.
Is it that your generation isn't reading, or is that we're just reading different things?
I think it would be we're reading different things because we still read, but I wouldn't say that the way we're reading now is better than the way we're reading before. Because when I used to read, when I'd actually pick up a book and like actually read it from cover to cover, I think I would get more out of it than if I just Googled like or SparkNoted what the book was about.
Okay, George, new question. What advice would you give a student entering the 9th grade next fall at Savannah?
The advice I'd probably give a 9th grader in regards to the Capstone project and like high school in general would probably be to stay focused, stay on track, and like do all your work, because they might think that 4 years is a long time, but in reality it goes by, like, it's not even funny how fast it goes by. And the thing too is that's probably how I was. That was probably my problem. I didn't have anyone to tell me that, and that's probably the reason why my grades aren't as good as I want them to be, because I didn't really stay on track, and I thought I have 4 years here, I'll probably make it up next year, I'll make it up the year after that. And in regards to the Capstone project, I'd tell them to really diversify their work in a way, to try new things, maybe take classes they really wouldn't take.
So I have one final question for you to wrap up this Capstone interview. What did you learn about yourself through the process of completing this Capstone project?
What I learned about myself by completing the Capstone project would probably be that not only did I learn a lot in high school, but I learned a variety of things. Like I took classes, everything from medical classes to cooking classes to Spanish classes, which I've taken like all 4 years. I learned, like, I could tell you, it's a really diverse, my transcript is really diverse. Like, I could probably teach you how to make a really good pasta, but at the same time I could show you how to draw blood, like, effectively. And doing the Capstone project really showed me that, because I've never really paid attention to that. And like, I was going through all my work from junior year and sophomore year, and it really made me realize, like, wow, like, I really did learn a lot. Even though people, like, I kind of took it for granted, but you really do learn a lot in high school.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Great job. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
George, in another week, we're going to have about 200 seniors present take part in their capstone interviews. What advice can you give to them as they're getting ready to prepare for their interviews?
Some advice I could probably give the seniors would be to relax, be yourself, be proud of what you've accomplished, and just enjoy the experience.